fragrance layering, a benign curiosity, a dysfunctional coping mechanism for those who buy way too many fragrances blindly, or a coveted haute couture styling skill in the world of olfactory garments? That is the question. Perfume Nation, tonight we're embarking on an epic adventure. For those of you who are looking for basic tips of how to layer fragrances, I will give you 7 solid strategies that you can apply no matter what precious bottles you have on your shelves. For those of you who are olfactory fashion snobs, buckle up, and especially for those who consider themselves a layering experts, guys, hold on to your seats. Some of these combos, some of these coupling proposals that I have might be so shocking that you just might find them irresistible enough to try them yourselves. Principle number 1 would be perfectly suited for those who have a fairly limited collection and you kind of know what family of fragrances you're into or specific notes that you're a big fan of. And also those who've managed to acquire quite a collection of soliflores or soli note type of fragrances that play around a singular note. If you're like me, I probably bought 10 lilac fragrances in my quest to find the perfect one, so to speak. And the quest keeps going on from genre to genre, from accord, note to note. So for that case, the first principle of layering, I think, is fairly self-explanatory. Rounding up and intensifying your favorite note in perfumery. I have been on a new quest in 2025 to find the best lychee fragrance. There's been a number of lychee designs that already hit the market. I think one of the most popularized ones is something lychee from Nest and Kayali, which are sold in Sephora, so no surprise, a lot of people are familiar with the concept. But generally speaking, exotic berries and fruits are very much in the prior to and the next 3 years. So the facets of these accords might change, but the trend is more or less is going to be sustained. So lychee is one of the super trendy notes. It was kind of gaining speed last year, and this year I think it's going to be the wearing craze of lychee fragrances. I've been looking for the best lychee for a while now, and just spoiler alert, I'm yet to find a truly believable, wearable, robust, kind of interesting, deep lychee scent. One of the first times when I paid attention to lychee in fragrance design was when I got Amour Oud Elixir Mysterious Rose, very pricey, limited edition type of release from Amour Oud. And here you have, on equal basis, musky, deep, luscious rose, plus lychee syrup, I would say. It's very sweet, very sexy, kind of nighttime type of fragrance. It also surprisingly so robust and so long lasting that it's also good for clubbing and nights out. If you need something to last on you for 6+ hours and to have that kind of sensual, sweet allure, Mysterious Rose by Amour Oud, there's the search is done. This is it. However, in order to pull out a little bit more lychee, I feel I need something else to put on top of it. So I've been searching for lychee scents, as I mentioned before, and I got 2 fragrances that mention lychee in their beginning and opening in the heart. And this is Philippe Plein Fatale Rose. This is, I think he was the designer of hats initially. Am I imagining it? Is it true? And now he has a line of fragrances. To me, Fatale Rose by Philippe Plein is kind of a soapy, this barely identifiable rose, jasmine plus sour lychee type of flavor. And it just doesn't really, to me, doesn't deliver on what lychee actually tastes and smells like. However, if you layer that with just one spray of mysterious rose, you get unbelievably balanced composition. So light fragrances that feature lychee or any other note usually sustain themselves mostly at the beginning, the first 30 minutes. And fragrances with way more base kind of pick up that game later on, but you don't get overwhelmed with the base notes and the kind of heavy, sweet, syrupy nature, jammy nature of the fragrance if you layer it with a fragrance that has a slightly different frequency. It's lighter, but has the same note. It really, to me, brings out lychee more, makes the fragrance somewhat more day appropriate, but it still lasts incredibly long. Another candidate of the same kind, just a different variation, is to me, it's a fairly new brand. I call it an Instagram niche. You don't know where they came from. You don't know how long they're going to be on the market. 5 Cents, SENS, Catch Feelings. This is very, you see, like it's not even Instagram, it's TikTok branding level. But fine. To me, this is like a typical, this is such a cheap design. I don't know if it's Amberxan. It's one of those base notes that you find almost everywhere that usually gets some fruity or floral notes added to it. It's very boring and it's very predictable, especially if you smelled more than one fragrance of this kind. It's almost like it has absolutely no identity. Not that it's not wearable. All fragrances are wearable. They're designed to be liked by human noses, all right? So like I'm not saying that it smells like death, but it's in olfactory design world, it's just boring. It doesn't have any depth whatsoever. So what do we do? It has a little bit like a hint of lychee, but again, to me, it's not even close. And now, all of that stinky base starts playing a role that helps to elevate the lychee note and yet somewhat dominate and kind of demure down the jammy, rosy, musky base that is so signature for Armour Oud. I would say 5 Cents, Catch Feelings plus Armour Oud Mysterious Rose is my favorite out of the two. Because here with the Philippe Plein Fatale Rose, it's just too soapy. I'm not the biggest fan of fragrances that make me think of detergents. Nevertheless, they kind of demonstrate the point. And here's the third intensifying combo, which, buckle up. It is very unlikely pairing, but both of these fragrances contain lychee accord. So Mysterious Rose, which is already luscious, sexy beast mode type of a lychee sweet rose fragrance, plus Matahari, another narcotic, but this time bitter, powdery, kind of like a shipper. 1876, that's how you can find it, by Histoire de Perfumes, French niche brand. Both of these have very bright character, very distinct character. And you wouldn't think it would work, but I think is that the components that they make each of them have lychee flavors, that's what brings them together. I already prepared a blotter, and imagine a fragrance that is almost too sweet to be elegant, because I think this is very lustful fragrance. It's beautiful, but it's almost too suggestive in my view. Like it's truly, it's like a sex in the bottle, or sexual seduction in the bottles more so. And Matahari is such a delightfully complex, bitter fragrance. with powderiness as a trail. It kind of comes later on. It's a very bizarre effect. And this seems so bohemian almost in the way that it smells. It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. But adding one on top of another adds almost like a second dimension to already quite a dimensional fragrance, this mysterious rose. It just becomes both powdery, bitter, syrupy, and this lychee, sweet, sour, fruity thing kind of emerges when they're put together. It's so good. I don't know how it is legal to wear this, but I do. And I do so very sparingly because both of these are very strong-willed and very long-lasting. A well-fit layering combo usually accomplishes more than one goal. So this is gonna accomplish goal number 1 and the goal number 2 for layering, which is shifting accents. If you like a fragrance composition, but there is something je ne sais quoi, something you cannot quite explain, something is not rounded enough, or it's angular or a little bit flat, it needs a little bit of something, some kind of evening out or shifting it away from, let's say, a facet that really annoys you. To give you an example, I love the Zombie Lily of Donna Karan Gold. It's a very coveted, discontinued designer release. Truly niche fragrance in the world of designer scents, and no wonder it was discontinued. It's really, really abnormal for the world of, Sephora's and Macy's shelves. It is green, like neon green, bright lily. It's almost zombie. It's survived a nuclear apocalypse for sure. It also has a little bit of this swampy, I wouldn't say rotting, but swampy effect, the way that if you put your flowers into water and the stems stay in water for, let's say, 5 days, there's this characteristic, almost like the water is about to start blooming, you know what I mean? It's this characteristic, very live, bacterial green scent before actually it goes bad. It's just very saturated with the juices out of the flower. So it has this somewhat of a green swampy effect that every once in a while just gets me tired. I want something a little bit more elegant, less edgy. Let's say less edgy. So to shift the accent from the zombie neon greenery toward back to the lily, I combine it with another lily scent, but the one that's very light skin, like musky, with a very ethereal incense, very like thin highlighting incense. And this is L'Artisan Parfumeur, their famous old school perfume. It was created at nearly the beginning of times of L'Artisan Parfumeur's history. This is Passage d'Enfer. I have it in an older release. Now you can buy it in, I think, in the version Intense and in this limited edition packaging. So it's one of the fragrances you would want to get familiar with from the French brand L'Artisan Parfumeur, because it's one of their legacy type of scents. However, here the incense and the white lily and kind of the soft, somewhat sour white musk are so subtle that I can nearly bathe in it and forget I'm wearing it. What it does when you put it on top of Donna Karan Gold, I already have blotters prepared, that it evens it out. It kind of pushes away that, I wouldn't say flat, but kind of screechy green edge that Donna Karan Gold has. And I think that's one of the contributors why it was discontinued. It's such an unusual facet for a white lily scent. And imagine just this very soft, silky, more rounded, musky incense here. It doesn't really smell like church incense. It just gives this almost sour, watery kind of flute flavor. It's like playing a flute somewhere on the background. But the white lily the principle number one, intensifying your favorite note, really highlights the lily in the Donna Karan that is already quite bright. But you see what I'm saying? Like, it removes, somehow magically removes the screechy, edgy neon green aspect and just makes it into the most multidimensional, beautiful, elegant, sensual white lily scent. I love them together. I really don't know a better white lily scent other than this combo. And we are not even done with this fragrance as a layering partner. Passage d'Enfer by L'Artisan Parfumeur, since it has this very subtle character, really helps to pull out different aspects of incense in my morning incense favorite. So incense has many different facets. It's a man-made accord, so it really depends on what's your favorite type of cultural reference to incense. Japanese incense, Orthodox incense, Catholic incense, and a lot of other ways that you can make this accord. They really provide a much needed variety in the world of fragrances. So one of my favorite morning incenses is Sancti by French niche brand Le Liquide Imaginaire. And Sancti is the bright, this one is churchy. You will recognize incense in it without a doubt. Kind of churchy, bright, light incense. Light in a way that it's not very heavy with resins or spices or anything else. It's fairly light, but it's bright and it has grapefruit in it. I love it as it is. But every once in a while, I want to soften the edge. I don't want this to be so zesty, because grapefruit and the high frequency fractions of incense accord sometimes start to get a little bit drilling, and again, a little too churchy to my taste. And as I said, I love it as it is, but sometimes I want, again, softer, more sophistication, but I still want that morning elevated incense. And when I combine the two, it's divine, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want. You don't get as much grapefruit anymore. And again, we're layering musky white lily plus incense into bright, high frequency Catholic incense and grapefruit. So grapefruit gets quite toned down by this. But since lily, grapefruit, they don't really argue with each other. These notes, I dare say, go really nicely together. Maybe they even enhance each other in subtle ways, but it becomes way more well-rounded, way more interesting, and way less zesty, way less screechy, as citrus heavy fragrances tend to be. I love it. And again, double use. I would say triple use. I wear it by itself and I wear it in these two combos. Shifting accents is a really solid and very multi-use type of principle. Often I use it when I want to shift the fragrance away from a facet or a note that annoys me or I'm tired of. And somehow when you layer fragrances, you often either get a kind of dirty mess, then you can't even enjoy the final result, which is fine. It's like mixing paint. It's like playing with different tunes when you're composing music. The spirit of exploration is an integral part of fragrance layering. You should not expect every combo to work. Yet sometimes certain combos, as the ones that I showed you, magically harmonize. Each of them harmonizes the other, and you get the better version of each of them together. So that is the second principle, shifting accents and getting away from sharp corners. I gotta say, fragrance layering sometimes, if you get lucky, gets you to the point of such high creativity, drive, as if you're already a perfumer, but you didn't have to spend 2 decades honing the skill of knowing the organic chemistry. Oh, this is gonna be a good one. I anticipate a few raised eyebrows here. The third principle, add sparkle to a fragrance that is solid, deep, long lasting, but it lacks a little bit of that unbearable lightness of being. These like opening light notes are just not there, at least not to your nose. Even though most fragrances are designed to have that hanger appeal to charm us with their opening notes, and it's more true for the contemporary fragrances than for older vintage fragrances, when you really want to enjoy either true vintage bottle of fragrance, which by definition, almost all of them lack top notes, those already kind of disassembled just due to age, similarly to aging wines. It is necessary to add something there if you want a multi-dimensional, three-dimensional, a true fragrance experience. Also, some of the older designs that are manufactured now often have the same profile but don't have the delicate complexity, especially at the opening. It's true even more so for old school shippers. I would say people who try fragrance genre that's called shippers, think Esther Lauder Knowing, and this one, for example, Cabachar by Gray, a very affordable green leather shipper, kind of bitter, leathery, sour type of concoction in a bottle. Historical, great reference point, but very few people wear it. Let's be honest. It's a very hard fragrance to wear on its own. You have to be a big fan of bitter herbaceous shipper fragrances, which is already, shipper is already pretty niche, but to like that kind of shipper is the niche of the niche. It's extreme of the extreme in a way. So even though this is one of the most affordable and wearable historic leathery bitter slightly powdery shippers, I have to confess even I don't wear it by itself. And the way that I make it work, it delights me to no end. I'm going to show you a super trendy combo because this is the trend of the last 5 or 7 years, and there is no ending of it in sight, is mineral accords in perfumery. And when we're looking for a mineral type of shipper, so think something green, mossy, slightly bitter, like again, when I try to explain shippers, it's something like olives or kind of marinated food. It has this sour, spicy, bitter type of feel when you smell it. Here we also have a leather accord, which gives it an additional, almost like a piercing backbone. But it can be so austere, so arduous of a scent, then to make it super trendy and yet soften it in the beginning and the heart, I combine it with Limonacea from the French niche brand Parfumerie Générale by Pierre Guillaume. Limonacea is a fruity, salty / oceanic kind of scent. It's beautiful by itself. I am halfway through, and when I'm done, I think I'll get myself another bottle. It's somewhat reminiscent of Tom Ford Costa Azzurra. This is one of the designer scents. Like if you want to know what's modern oceanic mineral fragrance is like, Tom Ford Costa Azzurra, you can smell it anywhere. That'll give you a solid impression. Things can go way more mineral. And mineral by mean that it's like this industrial, stony, very, almost plasticky sometimes accord, sometimes with spices, but they're kind of bitter sour spices. Most mineral accords have this a little bit of a stone, cement, glass, plastic, a very industrial feel to them, though some of them do make you think of wet stones at the seaside. That's generally where it comes from, but sometimes perfumers as olfactory designers take it in very different directions. So this has this oceanic wet stone with the salt accord with a little bit of a fruitiness on top. And when you combine it with the leather shipper, it is It is even better than yet another paragon of fresh oceanic floral with mineral accord, which is Amouage Beach Hut for women. That one is discontinued, very expensive, beautiful, even better than Tom Ford Costa Azura. And yet, I find that this is just unbelievable. It's better than the two references I gave you. It is so good. It is so long lasting. It has so much dynamism. So mineral, oceanic accord, and a strong shipper that definitely lasts forever, has a strong character, but lacks interest. Mwah. Super trendy, super long lasting, very unisex. And something that I wear even more often than this is super trendy, super bright, but sometimes I want something a little more user friendly. Again, buckle up. I combine a leather shipper with fresh Tropicana, kind of a exotic floral, almost think like mojito, maybe again plus possibly lychee or frangipani type of a deal. So here we have Morning Intipassa by the same brand, Parfumerie Générale by Pierre Guillaume. Really great niche brand, and it's fairly affordable considering the prices these days. Talking of tariff panic, a haul is coming soon. You're gonna see how much damage I've done. Good God. Anyway, this pretty much smells like a semi-fruity mojito. Very light, a bit boring to my taste. It's almost too light to be substantial. You can either bathe in it in the morning and forget you're wearing it, or you can do this. And this becomes the most amazingly charming, almost giggly leathery shipper. I'm so proud of these two combos. I feel like I'm an explorer discovering new continents. I think I would wait for decades to by chance to stumble upon a olfactory design like this if I was waiting for niche brands to come up with something like that. But that's what layering allows you to do. You can, if you're lucky and thoughtful and you experiment a lot and you test your nose and you kind of analyze what you feel and what works and what doesn't, you can find things like that. So light, watery, think mint, mojito, plus a little bit of a tropical flowers, or maybe a little hint of lotus and fruits in it, on top of a classic stern leathery shipper. Dream come true. And this combo actually brings us naturally to the principle number 4, which I think is more likely to be true if you're just starting out your perfume collection, because contemporary perfumes tend to be of this nature. They might be lovely, they have a lot of hanger appeal, meaning when you just spray them, you get this delightful, interesting thing going on. You buy a bottle and then the fragrance doesn't last longer than 15 minutes and it's just gone. So the rule number 4 is adding a base to a deficient in longevity but otherwise lovely perfume. So Morning Intipassa is a perfect combination of something that you can find in many different lines. As I said, Instagram niche, what's sold in Sephora. Most contemporary fragrances are made to be kind of bathing type of a deal, almost body sprays. And people who just start with their journey in perfumery rarely do even know about things like classical leather shippers such as Cabochard by Madame Cré and other unpronounceable French perfume houses. So I probably anticipate more people will have a problem of this nature. Lovely, wonderful, beautiful opening, but there's absolutely no longevity to this thing. So you can add a fragrance that has a good solid base and yet keep that lovely opening. Another whole world, how this works is adding a niche or your new favorite opening of a fragrance to a perfume that's marketed toward men. I do find that a lot of fragrances that are marketed toward men have unbeatably long-lasting bases. However, most of them, in my view, lack character. They all smell the same. Often their opening is screechy and screaming. There's nearly no heart to, kind of this middle hearty center. And then you transition straight to the stinkiest, longest lasting base thing, like a solution that can be used for disposing of biohazard materials. So if you have a fragrance for him that in your view it's good longevity, it's really solid base, I do like the dry down, the 3-hour in mark, but there's just nothing to it to make it alive. And you probably can grab almost any cologne or Soliflor, anything that you like the opening of, and you just put your favorite long-lasting base fragrance in the morning on your clothes and refresh every 2-3 hours with the trendiest light, the scent of the moment of now, to get this beautiful, long-lasting but interesting multi-dimensional combo. So I gave you my example, and there are many, many others of that nature. I am lucky enough to have a very vast, multi-dimensional olfactory library. So I do have, therefore, a multiplicative number of problems. And that brings us to the rule number 5. And this is gonna be equally important for those who have vast collections of La Vie est Belle flankers or Jean Paul Gaultier for her, or other, Dior poisons, and don't know what to do with them at the end of the day. Especially if by accident or intentionally you decided to explore the world of much more interesting niche fragrances and you find that you still gravitate toward your favorite sweet gourmand. Equally, this problem exists for people who went too far in the explorations of the most uncomfortably edgy, the burning church in which you run into with a metal blade from which the blood is dipping into the wet soil. These kind of olfactory designs, when things are so austere, so bizarrely uncomfortable and otherworldly, that it might not be safe for work to wear fragrances like that. And this rule, the number 5, I call sweeten the deal. It's when you combine a fragrance that is somewhat edgy, somewhat austere, and you combine it with a gourmand. This is one of my most favorite colognes. These are light fragrances that I wear. They're not necessarily short lasting. This is actually very long lasting. This is a collection of waters by Serge Lutens, and this one is called Dans le Bleu Creepy Tea. This is salty, seaweed, incensey type of very sharp, almost like a broken glass shards type of a fragrance. I love it. I have it. See, I already used quite a bit. I also have it in shower gel form. I adore it. To me, this has icy, beautifully, almost like screechy, clean glass type of a feel. However, it does tend to be perceived by others sometimes as a bit too sharp. Go figure. We all have slightly different noses. We even have slightly different gene expression of the olfactory receptors, G receptors. So therefore, no surprise that something that can be a bit too sharp can be perfectly fine to another person with another nose and another olfactory sensitivities. every once in a while, I want to keep this backbone, but just add a little bit more heart to it and make it a little sweeter while at it. And the most unusual combo that I found that works for me is combining this seaweedy incense with sweet prunes and leather. So Serge Lutan's Dans le Bleu Qui Pétille, I combine with Trussardi boutique collection, which is called Behind the Curtain Piazza alla Scala. I just call it The Curtain. It's a very long name. Beautiful designs. I love these dogs. Kind of might be hard to find these days, but again, we're talking about the principle, and if you want to sample this combo, you can get very generous set of decants. I'll leave a link below, so don't despair. Options do exist for you to try it. To me, this would be a perfect leather scent if it was not so much in your nose. It's very, to me, it's not like a soliflor, it's not a solid note, it's like a duo note. Leather and prune syrup. So it's pruny leather. It's sour, sweet leather. Delightful, incredibly long lasting, but at the same time kind of linear in the way that it smells. This is also linear, but different frequencies. And when I combine the two, magic. It's still a very linear fragrance, but instead of being sweet leather, kind of like middle to lower end, you add this piercing incense all the way through all the frequency range, like a metal backbone, and the higher salty, seaweedy accents that are so unusual. But oddly enough, they work with plum and this kind of sour sweet accord, and the leather keeps it all together. This is a beast mode type of combo. Both of these fragrances are long lasting. Both of them have very strong character, and yet it works. This is probably the most bizarre combo I'm showing you in this episode tonight, but it's a revelation in my world. Here's another option. I do tend to show you a lot of leathery bases, but that's one of my favorite bases, to be honest. And I think I like leathery bases more than I even like woody bases. Oh my god, I can't believe I said it. And yet I find leathery fragrances harder to wear by themselves. Go figure. So yet another beautiful leathery fragrance that's by French niche brand L'Artisan Parfumeur. It's called Mont de Narcisse. It's devoted to narcissus, daffodils. To me, I don't really get daffodils here. I get a melancholic, slightly mineral, kind of melancholic, thin leather scent, plus dried bananas. I love the sweet dried banana opening, but it lasts less than 15 minutes. It's poof, and it's gone. And I want to continue having this slightly sweeter experience, because otherwise this becomes a very melancholic, sad, slightly depressive type of olfactory profile. So what I figured I could do, I searched high and low. I'm yet to find this dried banana smell that would exactly reproduce what I'm looking for, because I find the opening genius. Again, nothing to do with daffodils in my view, but everything to do with thin, elegant leather and you eating dried bananas while being dressed in it. I found the closest thing that I found is sweet, well-rounded, edible scent, which is by Salvador Dali, their boutique line. The series is called Daligrams, and the fragrance is called My Muse. To me, this is this kind of almost like almondy milk, but it's not almondy enough. It's just this well-rounded, charming, somewhat creamy, souffle, sweet type of scent. It's beautiful. It's very charming. It is a beauty to wear by itself. It's very kind of like kiss me type of fragrance. And when I combine it with Mont de Narcisse, I get back maybe not exactly dried bananas, but this delightfully sweet, fruity type of a heart and opening to it that I miss so much after the first half an hour. This is such a delightful combo, and again, I wasn't sure if it would work, but it does. And a slightly more classical combo that still sweetens the deal here is Fabulous Bukara, also by Salvador Dali, coincidentally. But here we have spicy dried fruits, a lot of dates, maybe dried figs is here as well. This is more sort of a classical Eastern vibes, kind of Marrakesh spice markets, but not baking spices, are more like dried fruits and hints of spices. So when you put that on top of the dried bananas and thin elegant leather, it's you elevate this scent way more. The sweetness here really dominates, so you kind of lose the bananas, unfortunately, but you gain a luxurious, semi-Middle Eastern sweet gourmand with elegant, subtle, leathery landing. Gorgeous, very luxurious, very gold on top of gold, with lots of gold to follow. This is very like new money Dubai type of scent. I love it. If you get a cool fragrance, but it just doesn't have enough charm for you, sweeten the deal. Number 6. When two fragrances have seemingly nothing in common, but together they make whole. Let me explain. There are certain fragrances that, let's say, are meant to represent an aspect of something. And then to give you an example, I'll take Absolute Das Month by Barry Monte Carlo. This is a very reliable, good quality niche scent that represents Asmanthus flower. These are fruity flowers, so to say, fruity florals. It smells both white floral, soft romantic floral, and like peaches. So most of the peachy fragrances contain at least certain components, if not naturally sourced Asmanthus flower essences of this or that kind. This smells reliably floral and peachy. However, by reading about it and trying a lot of different Asmanthus scents and understanding how it fits in history and to us, it should be associated with tea scents as well, because Asmanthus was used to flavor teas in the past centuries. It's a really old Asian tradition. To really get the best out of this floral, it would be best if it had the aspects that are described of having Asmanthus as a essential oil or as a being near the flower. It should give you this tea-like aspects, smoky aspects. Some people even say suede or leathery aspect, and some people say somewhat animalic, kind of like pea type of urinal aspect. It really depends on what your reference point is. So there's none of that here. It's just fruity floral. That's all this is. Beautiful, boring at the same time. And when I was thinking how to make this into a full dimensional whole Asmanthus in all its complexity and facets that don't necessarily overlap, and I found a delightful smoky vetiver in my collection, and this is Vetiver Insolent by Miller Harris, which is a fairly affordable niche house that you can find, I think mostly in Europe. It's available everywhere, but it's mostly popular in Europe as far as I know. Really great stuff. Try it if you haven't yet. And I have a brand review on my channel, so if you want to hear what's good in their lineup, this is one of my favorites. Vetiver and Salad. This is somewhat grassy. Doesn't necessarily smell like green tea, but vetiver does tend to give people impression of a tea-like grassy scent, but not a freshly cut grass, more like a dried hay, aromatic, dried herbs type of a deal, plus smoke. Beautiful by itself. I love it. And they don't really have anything in common, but together they make the true, whole, full-bodied osmanthus smell. So I have it alone here. Just osmanthus by Perry Monte Carlo. Just like fruity floral, charming, nothing special. And together with a smoky vetiver by Miller Harris. This is amazing. This is just, it's like going from 2D to 3D. And as I said, in this case, we're not trying to sweeten the deal. We're not trying to add a base. We're not trying to add sparkle on top of the base. We're not trying to soften anything. We're not trying to enhance a commonality between the two. We're adding two blocks representing very different olfactory design, but we already have in mind that together these things should represent something that we know works. You can arrive here at the bombshell of a layering combo like that by knowing a lot about perfumery and how things are combined in olfactory design, and sometimes by pure chance, just by trying things out. It's all fair game. And the strategy number 7 and the final one, and I would consider this the most important cautionary tale, is this: don't make yourself suffer needlessly. Nothing is worth it. We are here for a very short time on this earth with our noses relatively intact for at least part of our lives. If you have a fragrance that you don't wear and it just doesn't work for you for whatever reasons, it's really not worth spending months and buying 10 other fragrances according to the rules that I give you, or any other compositional rules or strategies, trying to find a way to make it work. Just like with fashion, just like with types of food ingredients, sometimes it's just not worth it. It doesn't mean that fragrance is bad or good, or you made a tragic mistake, or your nose is not developed enough to appreciate it. It's just not a match, and that's it. You can regift it. You can sell it on Mercari or other reselling platforms. You can, if it's decent enough that it doesn't, it's not appalling, you can use it like I do. I use an enormous amount of fragrances that are okay, but I just know I'm not going to wear them on myself. I put them, spray them in the bathroom. I put them on linens. I put them on socks. I put them on shoes. I pretty much deodorize in a localized fashion certain objects or areas, and I use them up this way. I also gift a lot of fragrances. I do sell decants, and you can find all the links below if you want your favorite combo and you're intrigued enough, you have a chance to try it. But all of that said, all of those good juicy combos and amazing strategies, there's no need to suffer, to add any more pain or hard trials to your life for no reason. It's really not about that. And also, to say kind of on the opposite side of this argument, sometimes when I talk to people from the industry and people take, in my view, also kind of unnecessary, undignified pain on themselves to be insulted, that why would people in the wild, or as they're called in industry, consumers, why would they spoil a perfectly fine olfactory creation, things that are designed by professionals, carefully tested by focus groups, and they just ruin it all, just destroy it by putting their favorite syrupy gourmand on top of it. This is an abomination. What the hell? I usually say, be happy. They bought not just one bottle and returned it because it was not up to their liking. They bought 2 or maybe 3, because that's necessarily what's needed for layering. Be happy that people are playful and creative. Once you created your product, wrote your book, written your song, you have to let it go. Be happy people are using it, mixing it, complaining about it. That means that they're still interacting with your artwork, with your olfactory art. And again, we all have very different genes and gene expression. Our noses are truly different. There's been a study recently that showed that almost like a bimodal distribution of how much people are sensitive to ambroxan, one of the most debated stinky bases in fragrance industry, which by itself is not necessarily stinky. It's just some people tend to be specifically sensitive to ambroxan molecule on that level, and some people are not. It's more of a longevity and blooming agent than it has a sort of a strong scent by itself. Nevertheless, some people who are just sensitive by their genetic makeup will not be able to enjoy any of the fragrances at all. Ambroxan is all they're going to smell, regardless of how it smells to the nose of the professionals or the focus groups. So, fragrance layering to me is a necessary and very welcome creative extension of us learning about olfaction, enjoying different scents, expressing ourselves through that. It doesn't negate gratitude or nuance of understanding of how hard and sophisticated is olfactory design in the professional world. None of that comes at a contradiction, not in my view at least. So I would say the strategy number 7, play with it, and if it doesn't work, just let it go. I'm sure that scent will be loved by somebody else, and even better so, find it a welcoming second home. That's at least my strategy. If something doesn't work for me and I try it once, twice, thrice, and then I try layering it and I still don't dig it, I just let it go. And with that, I bring the question back to you. What are your proven tactics and how to layer fragrances? Do you enhance your favorites, so to speak, making your own flankers by adding something to something you already love? Do you layer fragrances in order to give them longevity? Do you layer fragrances in order to make 2 things work that don't necessarily work for you by themselves? Let me know. Share your tips and tricks. Share your favorite layering combos. That's going to be very exciting to see in the comments. Let's exchange combos and tips and tricks. Let's get to know each other. Comment under this episode, under this video, depending on which platform you're watching on it. Please like and subscribe. It really does help with the content strategy and production. I will be very grateful if you share it with people you think will enjoy this content as well in the private messaging. Your recommendations, your testimonials are really important for me. And they really make my day, let's be honest. It's cold out there, it's cold out there in the sea of content creation. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I'll see you in the next episode.